Your Excellencies, thank you for coming today. Yesterday was a very interesting day, and various different ideas and initiatives and advices to different ministries, the presidency, on the small and medium impact on the economy. I would like to introduce today Ashraf Naguib, the CEO of Global Trade Matters, the person that really believed in the global competitiveness, and he's been working on this for the past 2 years to come up with a program for the upcoming 2 years to boost Egypt's ranking from 116 into 99 by end of 2017. When Ashraf would walk into a meeting and say that, people would be very skeptical, ha ha ha, undoable. No, it is very doable because we're working short-term achievable initiatives, and the implementation process. As I was just talking to Dr. Sharif right now, he told me, give me a four weeks and we can really make this happen on more of a solid academic front to send to our ministries and actually be able to do that. So I'll give the floor to my business partner for the past 16 years, Ashraf Naguib.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you, Nancy, for that introduction. I don't usually get introduced at these events. I don't even get invited to speak at our own events. I usually have to moderate for moderators. But let me recount on what happened yesterday. In all honesty, I am quite, I'm going to say, satisfied with the results of yesterday's event, this first part of our event. The principle and the concept for us to be focused here in Egypt on our global competitiveness is not a new thing. We do have the Egyptian National Competitiveness Council that has been making great strides within that context. But as we heard yesterday, the public sector alone, civil society alone will not be able to lead the way. The private sector has to be involved. The private sector has to be driving competitiveness, and the private sector is, in a sense, the driving engine of Egyptian economic development and economic reform. When we first started looking at competitiveness in Egypt, I was very, very happy to receive an invitation from the Global Federation for Competitiveness Councils. I traveled to Saudi Arabia at King Abdullah Economic City to attend their annual summit last November. I met a fantastic group of people, invigorating, interesting, smart, talking about a multitude of different approaches towards global competitiveness. As I sat there as the only Egyptian in the conference or in the summit, I heard many countries talk about their achievements, like South Korea, and I welcome Mr. Park from South Korea with us today. We talked about China, and I welcome JP Wee from China. The United States was represented by their U.S. Council for Competitiveness, and the GFCC is located in Washington, D.C. Now, I heard people talk from Saudi Arabia and from the United Arab Emirates, young countries with great ambitions, with a lot of ideas for economic development and reform, ranking 17 and 24 on the Global Competitiveness Index. While Egypt, as I sat there, realizing that we were 116 out of 140 countries. And I just couldn't accept that. It just does not make sense for a country so large, so great, with so much resources, so much potential, and amazing history, for us to be ranking so poorly, even worse than Uganda in a sense. And that is unacceptable. So we came back to Egypt, and we engaged directly with the GFCC, and I thank Chad for being here to support our efforts. We spoke with Deborah Wynne-Smith, who supported our initiative and was here in January, signing our membership into the GFCC, and really driving forward the one-year program that is directed towards bringing that ranking from 116 all the way down to 99. Now, when I approached people, some of them were skeptical, but then people like Mr. Hassan Hussein, when I talked to him about it last maybe December or January, full-heartedly supported the initiative, regardless of how impossible it sounded. When we started to approach the government as well, some of them were skeptical. They didn't want to sign on to this 99 target initiative. But as we saw yesterday, and we saw through the Prime Minister's auspices and support for this initiative, that the government has now realized that this is possible, that we have made significant changes and strides in Egypt's economic development and its regulatory reform in the past 16 months that can definitely impact our ranking from 116 to at least break down to 100 by 2017-18. Now, is this attainable, and why do we believe that it is? Well, on the 12 pillars of global competitiveness, some pillars we rank well, like market size, we rank 27. But then on other pillars, like the macroeconomic environment, we rank 137. Institutions, we rank 87. On our financial market development, 119. So we're going to explore each and every one of these pillars and see how we can reduce the ranking on some of them. Now, let's not forget that we have gone through 2 revolutions in less than 4 years, that there was a period of time where Egypt did not have a president, did not have a constitution, did not have a parliament, and only had a transitional government. Confusion and chaos, without lack of structure and planning. So it's definitely one of the reasons why Egypt went all the way down to 116. But the reality is, we should be in the 60s, in the 50s, and our ambitions by 2030 is to be part of the top 30 countries on the competitiveness index. But we don't just want the government to lead this initiative. This is a private sector initiative. We believe that competitiveness starts at home. It starts with competitive companies. It starts with a competitive private sector. It starts with a competitive small, medium enterprise sector. It starts with a strong financial market. And these are the things that we are doing. Our government has been focused and successful in its focus in building and enhancing our infrastructure. Projects across the country have been opened. Projects across the country have been inaugurated. Things that would take tens of years to achieve have been achieved in less than a year and a half. And this is not a government propaganda in a sense. This is a reality that we feel on the ground. As we at Global Trade Matters were one of the biggest constructive criticizers of the Egyptian government and leadership, but we give credit where credit is due. What has happened in Egypt in terms of infrastructure enhancement and the amount of investment that is put within this concept is really within a context of trying to attract more foreign direct investment to Egypt, to provide foreign direct investors with the infrastructure that they need, with the financial markets that they need, and the business environment where they can succeed and flourish, where they can make the largest profitability. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt has the largest potential for growth in the world today. We occupy 6% of our land, which means growth is imminent. It means that we can grow for the next 100 years by just expanding our geographical location and our population density. We have the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal has been neglected for over 60 years. Today, we might not be moving on a fast-paced track, but we know exactly what we want to do with the Suez Canal. We want to be we want to be the global hub for logistics. We really want to play the role of being the gateway between the world and Africa and the Middle East. So we are a safe country. Like every other country in the world, terrorism is not something that we can control. It can hit in any place at any time, and we need to differentiate between terrorist acts and safety and security in Egypt. So overall, we are trying to build a holistic environment for not only the foreign investors, but also local investors. And it is vitally important for us to be able to work hand in hand with the public sector, with the private sector, with civil society, and with our foreign partners, learn from them and share the experiences, and at the same time, not just copy and paste, but for us to be able to formulate our own future and build our own reform programs on the needs of the Egyptian people. Some people may criticize our government and our leadership on the pace of reform, saying that it's not as fast as it should be, but we have to understand that 48% of Egyptians live under the poverty line, and hence it is vitally important for us to make a balance between our ambitions and aspirations for great economic growth, and at the same time to have the responsibility, the social responsibility towards the majority of our population.